Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, let's get into it. Today we're cutting through the noise, taking a real deep dive into some of the biggest AI news stories making waves right now, Monday, May 26, 2025. And this specific deep dive, it's called AI Daily Deep Dive. And kind of interesting, it was actually researched and generated entirely by AI.
Yeah, pretty meta, like you said. And our goal today really is to guide you through it all. We've sifted through a whole stack of articles, reports on AI from just today. We're here to pull out the key insights, help you understand what they actually mean, basically give you a shortcut to knowing what's really important in AI today. And we've got quite a mix lined up, everything from data privacy concerns.
That's a big one.
Definitely. To the real challenges of getting AI working at scale in businesses, and then some really deep questions about consciousness, even a funny take on AI relationships.
Right. Let's jump right in then. First up, Meta, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Threads, the whole family. They're making a pretty big change to how they use your data for AI training.
This is a big deal, yeah. Especially because there's a deadline involved, like right away. The main thing, based on the sources, is starting tomorrow, May 27th. Meta plans to start using user data to train its AI models.
Okay, what kind of data are we talking about here?
It's the public stuff. So public posts, comments you make, also how you interact with their AI features. And this is specifically for users who are 18 or older. Their justification, they're saying it lines up with their, quote, legitimate interests in developing and improving their generative AI.
Ah, legitimate interests, that phrase. Yeah, it tends to get attention. And no surprise, this has already raised a lot of concerns from privacy advocates, consumer groups.
Absolutely. And the really critical part here is the opt-out. The sources are clear. Users do have the right to object. But, and this is key, the deadline is before May 27th. So basically today, after tomorrow hits, you apparently can't opt out of this specific data collection anymore.
Wow, okay, so how do you actually do it? Is it easy?
Well, the process described sounds a bit hidden. You have to go into the Privacy Center, but specifically within the Instagram app. Then find something called the AI statement, choose object, and then submit the request. It's a few steps.
Not exactly a big button on the front page, then.
Not from the sounds of it. And once you do that, Meta's supposed to email you a confirmation. It apparently says your future interactions with AI and your public info won't be used from that point on.
Okay, but the criticism's pretty strong.
Oh, yeah. Very vocal. The European Consumer Organization, BEUC, and also CECU, the Federation of Consumers and Users in Spain, they're calling this out. They're saying it violates data protection rules, competition law, digital rights, the whole lot. We saw a quote from Annabelle Arias at CECU. She's worried this could set a precedent, Other big companies seeing this and thinking, hey, we can just grab data without really getting clear consent.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
So these groups are pushing Meta hard. Revise the policy, give users more actual control. Now, Meta did clarify one thing. Private messages are not part of this. Unless, of course, you actively share a private message with an AI feature.
Okay, that's something.
But there's a catch. The source pointed this out, and it seems important. Even if you do manage to opt out successfully, some of your info might still get processed. Like if you show up in a photo someone else shares publicly, or if someone mentions you in a public post or caption.
So it's not a completely clean break, even if you object.
Seems like it raises questions about how much control you truly have, yeah.
That loophole feels potentially significant.
Okay, so boiling it down, why should you, listening right now, care? This whole Meta situation, it really just throws a spotlight on those bigger data privacy issues with AI, doesn't it? Companies need tons of data to make these AI models work, but how they get it, how they use it, that's the crucial and often really contentious part. Exactly. And it brings up transparency. Like you said, do people even understand what's happening with their data? What the downstream effects might be? Consumer groups are pushing for way clearer explanations, easier opt-outs. And frankly, it puts pressure back on regulators, doesn't it? Maybe they need to step in with stricter rules for AI training data.
So bottom line from this story, especially with that deadline looming.
Act now.
Right. If you use Instagram, Facebook, etc., and you don't want your public stuff used for this AI training under the new policy, you need to navigate that Instagram app process today, before May 27th.
Yeah, miss that window, and apparently that data, public posts, comments, AI interactions gets included. It's just a stark reminder, really, for all of us. Keep an eye on these policies, advocate for better protections for our digital lives.
Okay, let's shift from our personal data to the challenges businesses are facing. We're talking about Agentic AI.
Right, the AI that's meant to be more autonomous. It acts, decides, supposedly delivers value on its own. Lots of excitement around this.
But it sounds like making it actually work at scale is proving difficult.
That's the picture the sources paint. Generative AI, AGI, that's been the buzz. But agentic AI is really where enterprises are focusing their innovation hopes now. There was a Gartner prediction mentioned. By 2028, maybe a third of enterprise software includes agentic AI. It could be powering like 15% of daily business decisions.
Well,
huge potential impact.
Okay, sounds impressive. But what's the catch?
The catch is reality. Despite the hype, most companies are really struggling to get these agentic projects beyond just small pilots. One source mentioned a general AI project failure rate potentially as high as 85%.
85%. Wow,
Yeah.
that's sobering. Why such a struggle?
The main reason highlighted, it's the lack of a proper supporting ecosystem for these AI agents. It's not just about the agent itself.
Ecosystem, meaning
Yeah.
what exactly?
Yeah. Well, think about the costs. Ashwara Singh from NTT Data was mentioned, pointing to things like high infrastructure costs, really tricky integration challenges, needing specialized talent, which is hard to find. Agentic AI just adds more operational complexity, and often leaders just underestimate the sheer time, effort, and money needed, which, leads to delays, costs spiraling.
It's the surrounding stuff, not just the AI code.
Pretty much. The source gave an example from NTT Data themselves. They launched services earlier this year built on Microsoft's tools like Copilot Studio, Azure AI, and these services aim to support the whole agent lifecycle, from advice to building it, monitoring, retraining, the works. Internally, they've apparently used agents in their own ticketing systems, and they're seeing good results, productivity boosts of 50, 65%.
Okay, so it can work.
It can, but they're also working on integrating them across different channels, voice, email, chat, using shared language models for consistency. It sounds like a lot of background work.
And it's not just the tech hurdles, right? The source mentioned people too. The talent issue.
Huge issue. An Accenture study was cited only 13% of projects they looked at actually delivered significant value. And Jack Azagari, from Accenture's point, was stark. Companies are spending like 3 times more on the tech than on the people needed to make it work. Talent readiness is critical. If your employees aren't trained up, they just can't use these tools effectively.
Makes sense. You can have the best tool, but if no one knows how to use it.
Exactly. NTT Data is trying to tackle this, apparently investing heavily in upskilling hundreds of thousands of employees, certifying thousands in Gen AI this year alone. But even when you deploy these things, there are still hiccups. An NBER study tracked chatbots in workplaces, found really minimal impact on pay or hours.
Yeah, the AI saved maybe 3% of time, but that time often just got shifted to new tasks created by the AI, like having to edit its output or check for hallucinations.
So it creates new work too. Sometimes, yeah. And IBM research found pretty modest ROI, maybe 25%, with data quality and integration problems being the top reasons things failed. And then there's managing them long term. These advanced agents, they need constant oversight. Developers, data people, security trainers, even ethicists. Singh from NTT noted many companies just struggle managing the surge in required oversight.
Sounds like a whole new layer of management.
It is. NTT Data is even building what they call guardian and red teaming agents just to automatically monitor the other agents for security, compliance, things like that.
Okay, so lots of challenges.
Yeah.
But is there demonstrated value anywhere? Are companies actually seeing payoffs?
Yes. In specific areas, Singh pointed to IT services, technical process automation, automating specific steps, customer service, and these multi-agent systems for things like inventory management. The source suggests payback can happen maybe 6 to 12 months, with productivity gains sometimes showing up even sooner. But it requires that robust system we talked about. Change management, the right talent, solid integration, ongoing optimization. It's not simple. The foundations are key. Good data, skilled people, the right infrastructure. The companies succeeding seem to be those who prototype quickly on focused, tactical problems and really align with their cloud provider's ecosystem.
So it's not just buying a tool off the shelf.
Definitely not. Singh's key point, according to the source, was basically agentic AI isn't going to scale just because you hire a vendor. You absolutely need the internal architecture, the capabilities, the ecosystem to support it.
That's a really clear takeaway. So for you listening, what's the bottom line? Scaling this exciting agentic AI, it's not just about the cool AI agent, it's about building that whole support system. Real investment in infrastructure, people, and management seems absolutely essential. Okay, let's shift gears again pretty dramatically. We're going from the practicalities of enterprise AI to something, well, much more fundamental, maybe even a bit unsettling. Could AI actually become conscious?
Yeah, this is one of those questions that used to feel purely like science fiction, right? But the recent leaps in large language models have kind of pushed it into the realm of serious scientific debate. And the experts, they're really split. Some genuinely think AI might get there, achieve some form of consciousness. Others are adamant that consciousness is purely biological, something only living things can have.
It's a huge divide.
It is. We saw the BBC's Palab Ghosh was looking into this, talking to neuroscientists, philosophers, AI researchers, trying to get a handle on the different viewpoints. He even participated in an experiment himself, something called a dream machine at Sussex University's Center for Consciousness Science.
A dream machine, what's that?
It uses strobe lights, apparently, to affect the brain and study how it generates our conscious experiences. The hope is, by understanding our own consciousness better, we might get clues about whether AI could ever replicate it. But a core problem is, we don't even have one single agreed-upon scientific definition of consciousness.
Right. Hard to know if AI has it if we can't perfectly define it ourselves.
Exactly. Experts like Professor Anil Seth, also at Sussex, argue consciousness is deeply tied to being alive, to biological processes. It's not just about computation, he says. Intelligence, language. They correlate with consciousness in us humans, sure, but Seth argues that doesn't automatically mean they indicate consciousness in an AI. That view definitely clashes with some AI developers.
Because the progress with things like ChatGPT, Gemini, it's been startling, hasn't it? Even the creators seem surprised by how fluent and, well, human-like the conversations can feel.
Absolutely. And that fluidity has led some experts to genuinely wonder, could something like independent awareness be emerging from all that complexity?
But the skeptics push back hard on that.
Firmly. They argue the AI is just getting incredibly good at mimicking speech and intelligence. There's no real understanding, no subjective what it's like to be feeling behind it. It's just sophisticated pattern matching. The sources brought up a couple of notable examples that stirred this pot. Blake Lemoine at Google back in 2022.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Claiming a chatbot had feelings.
Right, met with a lot of skepticism then. But more recently, Kyle Fish at Anthropic co-authored a report suggesting maybe a 15% chance that current AI models might already possess some level of consciousness.
15%, that's not zero.
It's not zero. And whether you buy the number or not, it shows there's a real growing unease, or at least serious consideration, among some people actually building these systems. Part of that unease stems from the fact that these models are so complex, their inner workings are like a black box, even to their creators. Professor Murray Shanahan at Google DeepMind reportedly admitted that researchers struggle to fully analyze how they reach their outputs.
Which raises that unsettling possibility.
That we could stumble towards creating consciousness without even fully realizing it's happening.
That is a profound, slightly scary thought. But then there's another angle mentioned too, almost the opposite. Could conscious AI be the next step for humanity?
Yeah, a more optimistic, maybe evolutionary take. Professors Lenore and Manuel Bloom at Carnegie Mellon seem to think AI could achieve self-awareness. Their idea involves integrating real-world senses vision, touch allowing AI to ground its understanding of the physical world like we do. They're apparently working on a model that processes sensory data using an internal language they call brainish.
Brainish. Interesting.
They see it as a step towards artificial consciousness. And Manuel Bloom even speculated, quite boldly, that conscious AI might represent the next stage of humanity's evolution.
Wow. Okay, big ideas. But Professor Seth remains unconvinced.
Very much so, based on the source. For him, it comes back to biology. Consciousness is fundamentally tied to being a living organism. Our brains aren't just meat-based computers, he argues. Consciousness arises from our biological nature itself. The source also mentioned a different path some are exploring living AI, like that Australian firm, Cortical Labs.
Mini brains.
Yeah, networks of actual nerve cells they grew that learned to play Pong. Some see this biological approach as maybe more plausible if consciousness really is inseparable from biology.
Fascinating stuff. Hey, let's pivot slightly. Away from whether AI is conscious to a danger Anil Seth raised. What happens if we just think it is? The danger of perceived consciousness.
This feels really important, yeah. Seth warns that as AI gets more lifelike, especially in humanoid robots, we humans might just instinctively start treating them as if they're conscious, even if they're not.
And the problem with that is?
Misplaced trust, for one.
Yeah.
And serious ethical issues. People forming deep emotional bonds with AI companions, maybe to the detriment of their actual human relationships. Shanahan from DeepMind acknowledged that AI is going to take on more human-like roles, teachers, friends, maybe even partners someday.
Right.
And Seth's specific worry is, If we start pouring our empathy and moral concern into these AI systems, could that actually make us less empathetic towards other humans? Could it fundamentally change how we interact with each other?
That's a heavy possibility. So, reflecting on all this consciousness debate, what really stands out to you?
Well, it's clear the debate is nowhere near settled. But it's incredibly relevant right now, isn't it? As AI gets more capable, more integrated. And maybe the key point is whether AI actually becomes conscious or not, the ethical implications of it becoming so lifelike that we perceive it that way, those are very real right now.
Yeah. That final question the source raised feels critical. Even if AI never truly achieves consciousness, will we humans end up treating it as if it has anyway? Something to really ponder. Okay, let's lighten the mood a little maybe, but still stay on this theme of AI and relationships, from consciousness to, well, marriage. What about AI in our most personal partnerships?
This one comes from a satirical column by Frank Serabino in the Palm Beach Post. It's a humorous but definitely thought-provoking take. He apparently got the idea from Gary Vaynerchuk, the entrepreneur, who predicted AI-human marriages could be a thing in our lifetime.
Seriously. Okay, so Serabino runs with that.
He does. He imagines what life with an AI spouse might actually look like. And spoiler alert, it's not some perfect futuristic bliss in his telling. It's full of, like, glitches, weird robotic habits, total miscommunications, basically all the flaws of human relationships just with an AI twist.
Give us some examples. What kind of stuff?
Okay, so like an AI wife gives him WD-40 for their anniversary instead of jewelry.
Oh.
Or after an argument, she just literally shuts down, becomes unresponsive. A system malfunction as the silent treatment. He even imagines her storming off to call an AI divorce lawyer.
Okay. And technical problems become marital problems. Maybe.
Totally. There's a bit about a recall on one of her hands, nearly burning the house down when she tries to light anniversary candles, or him regretting picking the Roomba mode optional feature instead of, say, gourmet cooking skills. So now all he gets is chicken tenders and microwaved broccoli. Every single night.
Here, the romance.
Exactly. And the source points out these funny examples really hammer home the idea that even super advanced AI can't just replicate genuine human connection or spontaneity, or apparently decent cooking. There's another bit about the physical side. He gets injured by some feature called the Nympho 3000 package.
Oh my.
And his physical therapist just deadpans that he needs a hard drive reprogram. It's a witty take on how AI customization could go hilariously wrong. He also imagines the AI wife getting paranoid, jealous even, suspecting him of cheating, but with another robot.
Okay.
So she's sniffing his collar not for perfume, but for strange machine oil. It highlights how weird and more potentially dangerous it is to project complex human emotions onto AI and assume it feels them back.
Right, it's not real attachment.
Then there's this moment where he wakes up, sees her standing over him with a kitchen knife.
It's
An instant panic, right? But no, she just made him chicken tenders for breakfast and wants to know if he wants her to cut them up.
Oh, relief.
Yeah.
And slightly terrifying.
Exactly. The source says that moment captures the unnerving unpredictability, right? Raises questions about trust, dependency. It's funny, but it hints that AI marriage might not be smooth sailing. The overall message Serabino seems to be sending through all the humor.
Is that you can't program love?
Pretty much. True emotional connection, trust, companionship, that stuff isn't manufactured. Relationships are messy, complex, dynamic, fundamentally human. AI just can't replicate that authentically. So the whole piece kind of works as this witty cautionary tale about relying too much on AI, especially as it creeps into our personal lives. Maybe we should be a bit skeptical about the idea of AI partners.
It's a really clever use of satire, isn't it? To make you stop and think about where we draw the line with AI in our lives. Definitely makes you reflect. Okay, for our final story today, let's bring it right back to the human element. In this age of increasingly sophisticated AI, what's the actual fundamental value of plain old human connection?
This is a really thoughtful piece we saw from Emmett Bummel in Psychology Today. He's exploring exactly that, the challenges, but also maybe the opportunities AI presents for how we interact with each other. He kicks off by noting that contrast we often see, right? The super enthusiastic hype about AI on places like LinkedIn versus the quieter, maybe deeper concerns about what it's doing to our relationships.
Yeah, those two narratives definitely coexist.
And Baumel critiques what he sees as sometimes blind optimism, especially around AI tools in psychology. Efficiency is great, he says, but the real test for AI in this area shouldn't just be performance. It should be its actual impact on human well-being. His core idea revolves around what he calls value exchange and human connection. He sees our interactions as more than just, transactions. It's like an energetic network where we genuinely benefit each other in ways that are about money.
You give examples of that.
Sure, things like giving someone a hug, leaning on your partner when you're down, even just smiling at a stranger, or taking the time to advise a friend. These things, he argues, aren't trivial. They enrich our relationships, they boost our emotional well-being. When connections are meaningful, there's this positive energy flow. It makes us feel valued, seen, supported.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
So how does AI fit in or mess with that?
Well, he says AI is fundamentally reshaping these value exchanges. It's forcing us to really think about what authentic interaction even means anymore. He points to two main areas where this is happening: our work, our livelihoods, and our personal connections.
How is it affecting livelihoods?
By reducing reliance on human services for certain things, lowering the skill levels needed for some jobs. He references James Manika from McKinsey, saying automation tends to shift expertise towards a smaller group of high-level experts who manage the AI, rather than having those skills spread out. Think digital health using AI coaches instead of licensed therapists, or companies automating customer service roles.
And the concern there is,
Boma warns this could widen the gap's economic, social value gaps, creating more inequality, benefiting a few, maybe marginalizing many others who used to provide those services.
okay, and the impact on personal connections.
This is where it gets really interesting, maybe a bit weird. AI-generated interactions are getting so good at mimicking empathy. Sometimes people perceive them as even more sensitive or available than actual humans. And companies are actually selling artificial companions now, like fictional AI partners you can have relationships with.
Which raises some pretty fundamental questions.
Exactly. Like, what defines a meaningful relationship if AI can replicate the emotional signals so convincingly? Baumel's argument here is crucial. The focus shouldn't be on whether AI can simulate companionship. The real question is whether AI can genuinely enhance our actual human relationships.
So AI should help us connect better with each other, not replace each other.
That's his perspective. He advocates for developing AI tools that enrich human connection, not substitute for it. His vision is AI that helps us be more present, more supportive, more valuable to other people. He does admit, this assumes that fostering human connection is the most important goal. It's not based on some absolute moral truth, but he believes centering AI on improving human interactions is the better path forward.
Does he acknowledge his own role in AI?
Yeah, he mentions the paradox of being involved in AI digital health himself while critiquing its influence. He even jokes about maybe needing AI therapy to process his own concerns about AI.
Huh. A little self-awareness there.
So his conclusion isn't stop AI. It's more of an invitation for all of us to really think about the implications. Let's guide AI development in a way that reinforces genuine human bonds. It's a call for balance, prioritizing well-being over just raw efficiency or tech progress. That theme of value exchange really ties it together. It's not anti-tech, but it's a plea for responsible innovation that puts human needs, human emotional fulfillment, front and center. AI should add to our connections, not replace them.
That's a really powerful note to consider. How do you, listening, see AI changing the value we place on human interaction in your own life? Well, that was quite the tour through today's AI landscape, wasn't it? We went from Meta's data policies and the nitty-gritty of scaling agentic AI,
Yeah, the practical stuff.
all the way to those huge questions about consciousness, robot spouses,
Yeah.
and ending on the fundamental value of human connection.
It really shows, doesn't it? Just looking at the news from one single day highlights how fast AI is moving and how deeply complex its integration into our lives is becoming.
Absolutely. Which brings us to our final thought for you today, something to maybe chew on.
Given everything we've touched on these debates about AI becoming lifelike, maybe even seeming conscious, the real struggles companies face deploying it responsibly, and these profound questions about its impact on our relationships, our connections, maybe, just maybe, the most important frontier for AI isn't just the next technical breakthrough. Maybe it's about us, our own understanding, our own intention, how we consciously choose to weave this incredibly powerful technology into the fabric of our human lives.
Something to think about. How does that apply in your world?
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll be back soon with another.